As the sun dipped, it painted the hills with liquid gold as I pulled my truck onto the ranch after 12 interminable days at the state fair with my prize bull. I had been craving the solitude of my land, the creak of the barn door I knew so well, the broad sweep of pasture where my cattle once grazed free. But something was wrong. The dirt driveway appeared narrower, squeezed in by new fences. Plastic mailboxes now lined the drive, and a speed bump jolted my truck right in front of the ancient goat shed. I blinked, my stomach churning when I saw rooftops. New, sharp, completely foreign, slicking through the twilight. My pasture, gone. Instead, row upon row of pastel-colored houses squatted like catalog props. A flip-flop-shaped welcome sign sat smugly on one front lawn. I got out, my boots crunching gravel, and just stood there frozen. Where my tool shed once stood was a two-car garage. A woman in yoga pants and a visor cocked to one side watered hydrangeas nearby. She turned, regarding me as if I'd cracked a safe. "Can I help you?" she snapped, voice as biting as wire gone rusty sharp. I nodded toward the barn, still standing, but now painted pale gray with fairy lights that twinkled along its edges. "That's my barn. This is my ranch," I told her. She snorted. "This is High Meadow Estates. Private community. No loitering." I let out a hollow laugh, trying to hide the anger rising up. "Check your GPS," she added, already turning back to her flowers. I wasn't dreaming. In my truck, my hands trembled as I drove straight to the county clerk's office. My name was still carved into the old mailbox post, but the box itself had been substituted with one of those newfangled shared units. My cattle fencing? Gone. Instead, there was a faux pond with plastic ducks where the water troughs had been. The house I built with my father had been overtaken by development, homes so close they seemed caged. I knocked on what used to be my front door. It was locked. Behind an open house flyer, granite countertops and white cabinets gleamed inside. At the clerk's office, the truth hit like a punch. A property sale was recorded 4 months back. My name was listed as the seller, but the signature wasn't mine. The notary? Fake. I called my lawyer, heart hammering. He asked just one question. "Have any federal agencies ever shown interest in your land?" I swallowed. "Yeah," I said. "Homeland Security. A couple of years ago, they looked at it because of the height and because it was so isolated. Something about radio towers." I had not thought much about it at the time. Now it sounded like a missing piece in a larger puzzle. Back at the ranch, I stood at the end of a cul-de-sac, looking at HOA signs that sprouted like weeds. A bulletin board promoted potlucks and missing pets. A notice about unauthorized photography was tacked up beside it. Two HOA officers approached, one with a clipboard, the other with a measuring wheel. "Name and property code?" said clipboard guy. I nodded toward my truck, older than their whole subdivision. "This is my land, not your HOA's. He snarled. "Your barn's our community center now. Zumba classes begin next week. You've got until Friday to move out." I didn't utter a word. I simply returned to my truck and phoned Homeland Security's local office. "If you still want this land," I stated quietly, "bring your documentation. Things are going to get ugly." By the weekend, a lavender envelope slid under my door, scented like a dryer sheet. Inside, a flowery letter summoned me to a community hearing in my own barn, now referred to as a multifunctional recreational space. They were charging me with trespassing and violating beautification codes. I laughed, bitter and hard. Trespassing? On my own land? Beautification, as if my mesquite trees and rocky fields were an eyesore to their prefab paradise. Monday, I walked into that hearing in patched jeans and a dirty shirt. Neighbors sipped flavored water from mason jars as I passed. Inside, my barn was fragrant with peppermint and lavender. Feed troughs had been replaced with folding chairs. At the front was Linda, the visor lady, now HOA president. "Let's get the cowboy out of the way," she disparaged. Giggles permeated the room. A slideshow glimmered, my dilapidated barn and their idea of a lantern-dotted yoga retreat. Linda claimed I was obstructing neighborhood cohesion and hit me with $15,000 in fees and fines. When she opened the discussion to comment, I stood. My voice was calm but knife-sharp. Do any of you know how you got here? Who cleared the land? Who kept coyotes out of these fields? Not one of you stopped to see if the person who sold it to them even had the right. Silence, chairs creaked. Linda's smile cracked. I walked out with a fire in my chest and a plan in my head. Every vinyl fence, every artificial flower bed steeled me. I unearthed ancient deeds, plats, and pre-development drone footage. A friend in ag got me in touch with a private investigator. He tracked down the notary seal. It was a woman who had been dead for 3 years. Tom, one of the construction foremen, stopped by. Guilt written all over his face. He'd made inquiries about the deal, but was told it was federal surplus land. When he saw me, he knew something was wrong. I sat on my barn roof that night with binoculars and coffee, staring at those glittering houses. The families weren't the issue. They were pawns. But the HOA board, they knew. Linda's confidence reeked of guilt. I called the water utility. They confirmed illegal diversion of water lines. The conservation office was already looking into a creek bed filled in under the HOA's tennis court. Then I received a call from Homeland Security. "We've been looking at your property," the agent said. "Elevation's perfect. You just got interesting." For the first time in days, I smiled. They thought they could push me around, but they didn't know ranchers don't break. At sunrise, I hired Levi, a young drone pilot. His aerial pass showed driveways, homes, even a pavilion in my hayfield. 42 residences bisecting the boundaries. My cow trails were now stamped concrete. Irrigation ditches were lined with decorative rock. I walked toward the cottonwood my grandfather planted, tablet in hand. 2 HOA deputies pedaled up on bicycles. "Restricted path," one barked.